All right, we are live. We already have our first calling guest. Drew and Dragons was here before the intro even rolled. So thank you, Drew, for chiming in, for hanging out. Welcome everybody. Let me do some introductions quick. Garrick is in the house. Says he may not stick around for this one. Maybe this one's a little bit boring for for people who just want to talk about D&D. D&D YouTube is a slightly adjacent topic. It's in the Venn diagram, but only by a third, right? Avery's in here. How's it going, Avery? Excited to continue playing Sunday nights with you. It's super fun on Sunday. Alex is in the house. How's it going, Alex? Robert is here. Jason96, great to see you. Mr. Vincent, hello, Mr. Vincent. I'm looking forward to tonight. It's going to be lit. Whispering Wisp, how's it going, Whispering Wisp? All right. We've got some really good comments left in the Discord on this topic. We're talking about the next stage of TTRPG YouTube evolution. William's in the house. How's it going, William? Yeah, and we're just going to talk about it. Here's what I want to accomplish in today's call. I want to hear what people like and don't like about what's going on in D&D YouTube land. I want to hear what people want. I want to hear what they want to see. This is very interesting to me. I have some ideas of my own I'd like to share that I kind of would like to see. This is partly to inspire me, give me some ideas as a YouTuber, but this is partly a conversation about the greater community. What are we looking for when we're watching YouTube on D&D related topics? What do we feel like there's too much of? What is beaten to death and what needs to change? These are, I think, very valid questions. So D. Coopark is in the house. Hey, D. Coopark. Blim Blam is here. How's it going, Blim Blam? Garrick says the drama is displacing the useful content. So that's an interesting take. Sometimes I think the drama is a little fun. Inject a little bit of drama. This is what I do in my games. Inject just a little bit of drama. It goes a long, long way to making the games more fun. If you can get your players just a little riled up, it makes it a lot more fun. And sometimes I think that in the D&D space, like some of this recent drama that's been like people quitting channels, people talking about the YouTube algorithm, how it's ruining D&D YouTube and all this. I think that this has been some of the funnest D&D YouTube I've watched in a long time, to be super honest. So it sounds like Garrick is completely the polar opposite of my outlook on that. Let's go to Drew real quick. Drew, you were here before we even jumped in. What is your take on this? What do you think?
Well, it's hard because I agree with, there's in the Discord, there's a discourse about, the drama, a lot of Hasbro criticisms of the companies, and all these things that are sitting above the game. Right. And so I think that, it is true that it is unfortunate that clickbaity titles, it's our job as viewers to dictate what gets views or not, honestly. And so I think that there's a lot of clickbaity titles about drama, and I think that we click on that. A lot of us do, and we watch it. And whether, we might dislike it, like it, whatever, but the reality is that those are the views that YouTubers are getting, and so they're then motivated to create more content like that. I agree with the sentiment of when I first started, using YouTube as a medium to learn, which I think a lot of people I am a Gen X, or excuse me, I'm a Gen Z. I don't even know what I am anymore. I'm a millennial. What am I talking about?
Are you really? I would have, when you said you're Gen X, I was like, surely you're not Gen X. You seem younger.
Yeah, I'm a millennial. I'm sorry. I don't even know what I'm talking about. 89. So the reality is I use YouTube for almost everything. If I'm going to learn something, I'm going to look up a YouTube video for it. Right. And so I really found Matt Colville very useful. I found like some of the older Critical Role stuff when they were explaining the game, very useful. And then there's just a lot of criticisms to the companies. And then there's just also a surplus of rule sets or additional rule sets, subclasses. So when I think about what is the next thing, or what can YouTubers do to push forward, I honestly think, I try to think of things that are going to compete with the biggest viewerships, which again, Critical Role and those live plays. I mean, there's a lot of them, and so I don't think that the format of just sitting with people playing D&D is going to ever surpass that, because I think that it's too saturated. That doesn't mean that some other format could be helpful. I have this idea of like a WWE style PvPvE sort of, you have two groups of twos, and I'd love to see it happen, but the funding and the personalities and all the things that would need to coalesce to create that sort of event for viewers is a pretty tall order. So yeah, I mean, to answer your question in a really long form, I think that yes, less of the drama, clickbaity stuff, but we as viewers need to dictate that and not watch that stuff then.
Gotcha. Okay. I find it interesting that you mentioned the PvP, like almost like a Royal Rumble type game that pits players against each other. I think that's that would be funny. That would be a fun thing to watch, actually, especially if it was well done.
If there's personalities, like, again, it's all about us wanting to come, and people watch those shows because they fall in love with the characters, they fall in love with the actors that are producing those characters, and so that takes a commitment to role play that's hard to emulate. And then I think that it would take a lot of flashy camera work and people really behind the scenes doing a good job of managing that to really make it successful. How's it going, Dungeons and 20s?
It's going all right. How's everybody doing?
Pretty good. Well, Drew, thank you so much for your insights. Thanks for jumping in. Yeah. Thanks for calling in.
Absolutely,
I'm gonna politely boot you from the channel. I'm trying to
go away. Take care, everybody.
It's not because I don't like you, though. Have a great day, Drew.
Absolutely,
thank you so much. All right, William. Thank you for jumping in here. It's great to see you. Great to talk to you again. What is your take on this? The next stage of TTRPG YouTube evolution. What would you like to see as a YouTube consumer? And what do you think? Just what are your thoughts on it?
Well, it's me trying to create a YouTube channel. I think I've said it before, in 2016, the whole TRG just took off when Critical Role started getting out there. And then other people, aside from like I said, Esper, that guy's been around since 2009. But it just really hit and became pretty famous. And then people started realizing, let's jump into bandwagon here and put all this content out. And then at a certain point, I think it reaches a peak to where you have to contend with each other. And that's why you start getting clickbait and such. And it starts creating that idea of noise everywhere. So you have all this clickbait out there that I see as noise, and which one you're going to do. Eventually, everything just kind of seems the same. And you have to really pick out which ones are really out there to try to help you out and put some good advice out there, and which ones are just trying to get more viewers and subscribers. And I think eventually it's just going to have to cut back the layers of the onion in a sense. And we're going to have to really go on personalities and entertainment. Like Critical Role is out there just because they actually know they got good production value, and they really get into their characters, and they're telling an actual story and going in there. And that provides entertainment. And then with the rest of the YouTube, I guess you have a lot of information that's already been regurgitated so many times that it's just now clickbait to see who's going to get into the channel. And really trying to find unique things out there, I guess, to keep on giving people. I guess it would be anything from homebrewing to subclasses or something like that is unique and different from what's already out there. But at the same time, I guess there's only so many things that you can eventually put out there.
Yeah. So what would you like to see? Like, if you were going to wave a magic wand and as a viewer have D&D YouTube pop up that you think would just be so much fun, that you would be like, oh, this is awesome, I want to watch this, what would it be?
That's a good question. Makes me really think about it. Just because there's so much stuff that I've seen out there that when I first jumped back into D&D, I kind of like the dungeon dudes. I was like there trying to figure out, hey, which class would be the best in order to figure out if I wanted to do something fun and create a really powerful character at first level. So I've seen that, and then I've seen I don't know. I've seen like how Esper does with his lore and telling stories and such. And I guess maybe the one aspect would probably be what my buddy Jay is doing. I haven't seen a lot in the sense, but I know there's a big divide, which is because D&D was created in order to make a profit for the creators. And there's a lot of games out there that, including like certain tournaments I even know because I do a lot of volume photography, but they have to keep going and making money in order to do their stuff. And I guess it would be anything that has to deal with the pro gaming world now, since everything is since 2020, since that took off, since everybody was home, that kind of flourished out there. Now we're 5 years later, now going to be in that area where it's already reached a peak as well. And now we got a multitude of professional dungeon masters, and then we got free dungeon masters, and everybody's buying and trying to get people for their games, when it used to be where there's like no dungeon masters and everybody was trying to find them and they were rare. So I guess that would be like pretty interesting. Which me and my buddy were thinking of doing is making content that deals with the whole pro DMing aspect, or GM masters the pro gaming aspect, and not just D&D, but all the entire aspects of, it could be Vampire the Masquerade or Star Wars and so many others.
Okay, yeah, no, that's awesome. Do you think that the paid GM, like, I think I don't see enough how to do paid GMing content. I actually never ever see content like that. It makes me wonder why more people aren't making that kind of content. I don't know if it would perform well. I don't know if people want to see that. Chat, what do you think about that? Do you see a lot of like how to be a paid GM content? And if so, is that something you're interested in watching? I just keep thinking about that. And I'm not a paid GM, and that's not really like my direction I would want to go in. I might do it someday. I might dabble in it, but right now I don't. That just isn't really my forte. But for people who do it, I'm just surprised that there's not more content. And I'm surprised that I'm surprised. Well, I wouldn't be surprised if it was very popular, because it seems like something that a lot of GMs who are very serious about the craft would be interested in. It just seems like it to me. What do you think about that, Will? And as a paid GM, like, do you feel like you see a lot of content like that online that's helpful to you, that you like? Or
I think
is that
I've only found one channel that helped me out when I was getting into the pro DM, and really because it was it's going on 2 years now that I got back. My buddy Dwayne is the one who got me back. Everybody kept wanting me to DM, and I stopped after second edition because I did not like 3.0. It felt like a completely different game for me, and I had collected hundreds and hundreds of different or worth of different books and such, and then this new game had changed it for me. So I stopped for a few years, and then my friend and my niece, and they wanted to start playing D&D, and nobody knew how to DM, and so they kept asking me, and I was like, I don't know. It's like 5.0 seems completely different to me. And then I read the player's handbook, and I was like, you know what, this is not too bad. I think I can incorporate some of my second edition into the fifth edition. And I never actually heard. I think I had heard mention of Matt Mercer, and I didn't know who it was, but everybody kept telling me, "Oh yeah, they're famous people. They've been around." I was like, "I've never seen them on TV. What are you talking about?" And they're just like, "No, they're voice actors." And so I finally decided to look into it, and I was like, "Oh wow, okay, this is pretty cool. Yeah, they're really getting into it. This is the kind of thing I like. I love deep role playing and stuff." And then somebody told me about one of the DMs who made $130,000 a year doing in New York, and I was like, "What?" And
wow.
yeah,
That's
so
a lot of, yeah. So that's interesting because it's like I normally would associate being a paid GM with being like a side hustle type thing. That's like how I would associate it being, but making that kind of money, that's like it's a legit business enterprise at that point.
I finally, when all my games go through, I can make $1,200 a month. So it's still kind of a side for me, but honestly, my photography has died for the past 2 months. If it wasn't for my gaming, I would not have been able to keep my apartment as long as I have and been able to keep my electricity on. But what helped me was one of the channels. After I heard that, I started looking, and once I started looking around, because I couldn't find where to advertise for any of this, I was like, well, how do you even do it? Are you going to do it at your hometown in Midland? It's pretty dead around here. I had to, I worked hard to create a community of friends here that played D&D, and it took a while, but when me and Zach and Dave first started, and then I was like, well, I don't know if I'll be able to do it here. How about online? And then I started looking online, and it said that there was forums, and then Reddit was the worst. Oh my gosh. They have some interesting people on Reddit. I never used Reddit, but then when I went on Reddit, I have one person in my pro games, and he went on there for our Sunday game before we play ours, for one of my pro games there. And they actually made a channel, and then they made a Discord channel to bring him in there and then make fun of him and cuss him out. and he was like completely surprised because he didn't know what it was, so that he thought he was just getting invited somewhere. And they were like, oh yeah. So I guess the reason maybe, aside from that one channel, I found all this information and how to advertise and how to, I think it was Start Playing became one of the biggest things out there besides Camp Dragon. And I think it's because there's a lot of pushback, and a lot of people wish to keep it as free. And that I think a lot of people don't understand why people would want to, I guess, get paid to do DMing. But at the same time, since I started pro DMing, I have put a lot of time. Sometimes I'm staying up, I work for 3 days just to make sure that I have a lore and my NPCs, and I do my personality charts so I can divide my biases from my own personality. And I think that a lot of pro DMs who have a passion for it, just if you're like the Joker says, if you're good at something, make sure to get paid for it. So, with this division, I think there's still people who don't advertise it a lot on YouTube. Maybe I think that might be something, because some people get angry at it, and as much hate as I saw that my buddy got, I was like, oh my god,
painting yourself a target, painting a target on yourself, a target for the haters and the trolls.
Yeah,
you could be right. No, you could be totally right. Well, there's a lot of really good comments I'd like to address in here. William, would you like to hang out and address these comments with me?
Yeah, sure.
All right. Sure. We've gotten no additional call-ins. If anyone wants to join in, feel free to hit that link at the top of the pinned comment. We're just hanging out, talking about the future of D&D YouTube. Now, there's some good comments in here. Alex Sorensen said, love to see some live actions. Sad about the death of some of the major channels, like Guys. Sklander's channel is sad, along with Man Shorts. Yeah, there have been some channels going down, it seems. And so, yeah, but love to see some live actions. I think what you mean is actually live action, not just at the table play, but you mean almost like live action, like D&D crossing over into almost like creating shows. Is that what you're saying? Because I've thought about that, and I think that would be awesome. But that would be like a high production value thing. It'd be expensive to do. Stacy says the drama seems to be in parts to keep the community informed when they ask questions. Near enough, every content creator I follow addresses the unfortunate need for clickbait. So we keep talking about clickbait, and this has been going around. Lots of people are critical of it. A lot of people seem to hate on it. It seems to be a feel bad thing where people click on a clickbaity thing and then they watch it and then they get mad about it. This seems to be like a thing. Obviously clickbait is a marketing tactic, and obviously the more clickbaity it gets, the more ridiculous it gets, and the more you feel bad having fell for it. There's Think Media, which is a YouTube channel I follow. They talk about ethical clickbait. They're like, don't clickbait like hardcore. Make a legitimate promise that sounds enticing, and then come through with it on your video, and then people will not be mad at your clickbait. And I've heard it described that way. Blim Blam said clickbait can be annoying when it has nothing to do with the video. See, that's what I'm talking about. Like, people get mad about that, but I find it pretty funny if done well. I think PDM does a good job utilizing it as a tool. Professor DM, yeah. William, do you have any idea? Do you have anything to add about clickbait? Kelf is in house. How's it going, Kelf?
Yo, what's going on?
Hey, how's it going? As far as clickbait, I mean, it's just like how I said, the whole reason clickbait is out there, I think, is because as this YouTube community grew and everybody started putting so much information out there, I think a lot of people also pay attention to how many views they're getting. And, I do it for, I design covers for authors, and they try to do all this stuff in order to sell on Amazon. A lot of people who create their own cover and don't do research on it, they think they just can put a cover, and they forget that it goes in a certain genre, and it's supposed to be about a certain thing and colors and all this stuff. I think YouTube is the same thing now, because you got so many competition out there. It used to be where it was valuable, but now it's the same thing as what they do when they put Burger King, McDonald's, Wendy's, and maybe what other, like maybe Whataburger here in Texas in the same corner, and all four of them are just trying to scream out, "Hey, come to us! Hey, come to us!" And I think that's what's going on, because now there's so much variety out there, but most of it could be the same. It's just regurgitated in a different way. That clickbait has to be used in order to try to bring in those viewers and such. Still, at least that's my idea of it.
Oh, for sure. There's a saying. They're like, marketers ruin everything. That's what they say, and I think that's such a true statement. As someone who has been in marketing since 2009, I have to admit, yeah, no, that sounds about right. That sounds about right. You take the art and you take the art and you just make it. You make it a part of the problem, part of the noise. But William, thank you so much for joining me. I'm gonna bounce you out so that Kelf can jump in and give us his 2 cents. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, yeah.
I will look forward to hanging out with you tonight. The Barren
Oh yeah,
Land
I can't wait.
tonight.
Can't wait.
A note to the audience: Barren Lands kicks off tonight at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. 7 to 10. We're going to be live streaming. William is playing. Kelf is playing. We've got I think 5 players. It's going to be awesome. And it's gonna be pretty exciting. I'm hoping to blow the roof off. I'm hoping that my technical streaming abilities will be finally ready to go, and my owlbear rodeo. We will see. Hopefully, these things don't prove to be smarter than me, and hopefully, I don't roll a critical fail at trying to run it. But I think I have it all straightened out. I've been working on it all day, so I'm pretty pumped. Anyway, so William, well, I'll see you tonight.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'll see ya. Goodbye, everybody.
Kelf, how's it going?
It's going. How you doing today?
All right. Pretty good. All right. I want to hear your opinion on this. The next stage of TTRPG YouTube evolution. What would you like to see? Where do you think it's going?
I don't necessarily know if I could say specifically what I would like to see, just because I think there is a ton of content out there. I think, though, what we are seeing in the D&D YouTube ecosystem is a reflection similar to what we have seen in the YouTube ecosystem over the years, where at the kind of, in a way, like 2014 was the almost like golden age of D&D in recent times, because that was when 5th edition just released. That was when a lot of YouTube channels started coming up. I know MCDM really started putting out a bunch of videos. Matt Colville was putting out all these awesome videos relating to stuff that has happened in his games. And that was a period in time when a lot of channels really started growing for how to play D&D, how to be a good GM, how to be a good player. And then from there, that kind of expanded out so far to where now a lot of those channels, I feel like, with Professor Dungeon Master, with Guy Sklanders, all these channels that are now kind of, starting to fade away, is because they focused on work that needed done. But now I feel like a lot of what they have said, or a lot of the things that needed to be said, have been said. And it's one of those things where now the content has changed to shorter form. Before, you could sit there and watch, a 20, 30, 40-minute video about how to do any kind of DMing things. But now people are wanting to go either towards longer form live plays or short form burst content. I think that's why One Shot Quips, or I think they recently rebranded. I think it's One Shot Quips now. How they're doing a lot of shorts, how a lot of live plays put out a bunch of shorts and TikToks and stuff like that. And it's all that burst content where it's fast, it's quick pace, it's short form. And I think that is just the natural evolution of the content. And like I said, that's been how YouTube's been for years. It used to be, arguably it used to be super short. It used to be short form content with like animations, but then it started getting longer formats as that was what YouTube promoted. And now things are trimming down to where they promote shorts.
Yeah. No, shorts have definitely become a big thing, and like them or hate them, they're here to stay. Mm-hmm. I often feel like the doom scrolling thing is awful. Like when I sit there for 10 minutes and I doom scroll, I'm like, why did I do that?
Yeah.
Why did I do that?
I'm the exact same way. I'll sit here on my computer at night and have like 2 or 3 videos pulled up that I'm planning on watching, whether it's, news or whether it's D&D related stuff or video game related things. And I'll start watching into something, and then my mind will start to wander. And it's that, it's either ADHD or it's just, my attention span fading, and I'll just pull out my phone and I'll just start scrolling through, YouTube shorts or TikToks or whatever. And it's like, it's that shortening of attention span that's kind of the killer.
Yeah. Okay, so what is your wish as far as content you wish to see in the D&D space on YouTube? Like, if you're going to wave a magic wand, have just something made, and you think to yourself, this is so awesome, I would love to watch this. Do you have any idea about what that is? Sometimes it's hard to know until we see it. You don't really know what you're missing until you see it. But do you have any ideas about that? I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Legitimately, I think personally, one of the things that I love the most is watching other people's videos where they talk about their house rules. Jacob from XP to Level 3 has put out a couple videos like that where he discusses house rules that he puts through. And because of those videos, I have changed aspects of my games. And it's minor things in a lot of cases. I think everybody does it, and now it's even an official rule of bonus action drinking a potion and stuff. But there was one that he introduced. It was where I think players got a card or something, and it was like how they represented inspiration. And he talked about one where you get a coin and you can flip the coin over as the DM, and that gives them inspiration. And at any point that they want to re-roll or roll with advantage, they can flip the coin over. But when the coin is flipped over, the DM can impose disadvantage on one roll that they do, and then that'll trigger the coin to flip again. So it's kind of a back and forth between them. It's like, okay, you can choose when you get a really good, inspiring moment and advantage on this. And I, as the DM, am going to impose, a harder challenge for you once you've used that. And it's that back and forth. And I thought that was cool. I experimented with it a little bit in one of my campaigns, and I wasn't a huge fan of it after a point because it felt like I was kind of punishing my players for it's like, oh, cool. You did something good and you wanted to make sure you got past this, and I'm going to punish you for it later. But yeah, I personally like house rule stuff. I like to see how other people run their games. I like to see how they incorporate different mechanics. And I think that also is just another factor for me, is like, I want to see what mechanics are people using in their games, and what, mechanics do DMs favor, which ones do they move away from. I'm currently in one of my campaigns using a rest mechanic, which is from the DC 20 system, where instead of having simply a short rest and a long rest, there is a quick rest, which is 10 minutes, and it lets you roll up to half of your hit die if you want. Like you basically, on a quick rest, it's 10 minutes. You can roll half your hit die. Short rest, you can roll as many as you want. A long rest, you get half of your hit die for free that you can roll. And then there's a full rest where you get like all your hit points back, and you get all exhaustion cleared out. But the long rest doesn't give you all of your hit points back. That's like one of the key mechanics. And I personally like that, because I think D&D's whole thing of, oh, I was stabbed with a sword, burned by a dragon, thrown into a river, and almost drowned. Give me 8 hours to sleep this off, and I'm fine and dandy.
Yeah, it's certainly not realistic.
No.
It's certainly like an exceptional magic world thing.
Mm-hmm.
No, totally. I totally get you. But that's awesome. So you kind of like the homebrew alternative rule type content. You wish you kind of enjoy that. You'd like to see more of that kind of thing.
Absolutely. I mean, homebrew is my passion. I make homebrew subclasses. I make items, stuff like that. I had a project that I was working on last year where every month I was going to do thematic content. And I only made it to like April or May by the time that it got overbearing. And I also had a kid at that time, so wasn't able to dedicate the time needed. But I love homebrew. So hearing how people incorporate stuff like that into their games is one of the things that I love. So YouTube content that's geared towards that is definitely my forte. But I know that that's not necessarily something that the entire community is looking for, because once you've played D&D you've been playing for 10 years, right? Or longer.
I've been playing for D&D for about 12ish years, TTRPGs for a little over 20 years.
Okay. So yeah, I've only been playing D&D and tabletop really since 2014. So I jumped in right as 5th edition, right around the time that 5th edition was still called D&D Next. And that was when I was reading all the rule books. I rewrote all the player options into a Google Doc so I could learn them and let my friends use that to learn stuff. But now at this point, I don't really care much for what Wizards has to say about their rules. I like what a lot of other people have done, and I like making the game better for me and my players rather than just sticking to what one book says.
Yeah.
So.
Heck yeah. Well, awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. That's a really awesome and interesting take. And I think that you also got some love in the comments here. Stacy says, I love your D&D content when you show and talk about your subclasses, Kel.
Yeah,
does create awesome stuff.
I appreciate that. Yeah, Stacy's over in my own community channel. She actually plays in one of my games, so she's had the opportunity to experiment with some of my homebrew, such as a Frostwalker Ranger that is all about controlling enemies' speed and reducing their speed and keeping your allies moving in cold conditions. You got to play that in in a 2-shot that we ran.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah. All right. Well, Kalf, I'm gonna bounce you from the channel here, make room for another caller if we can get one more, or I'm gonna go through these Discord comments. But I'm looking forward to seeing you tonight, good sir, hanging out, getting started on the Barren Lands, playing
Absolutely.
What do you call the subclass you're playing? It's
it is Soul is a gold dragonborn sun paladin. He's a sun knight. He's a follower of Lathander, the Morning Lord. The all about radiance, faith, hope, and bringing light into the dark.
Heck yeah. I'm super excited for it. I love it. I think that homebrewing subclasses with the way D&D has kind of reformulated itself is going to be one of my new favorite things. I think it's awesome. I love the subclasses in the book, but it's like, why not homebrew like a bunch of them? Why not?
And you know, that's the way that I've always looked at it when it comes to homebrewing. And subclasses is one of those things where it becomes very personal to your character. It's, you know, magic items are fun to throw in, and, you know, like homebrew mechanics are fun to experiment with. But whenever you get into the design of a subclass, you are redefining what that character is. Because if I wanted to play a what's the example? Okay, so one of my players in one of my games was talking to me about wanting to play a paladin who kind of balanced light and dark. And he didn't really find anything that worked in the official rules. And so we came up with an Eclipse Paladin who gets some sun abilities and radiance and some moon abilities and psychic stuff. And it made it so much more personal to him, and he's so much more invested in the character. And I think that's the best part about homebrew is you make it tied to that player, and they invest more into it because of that.
Yeah. No, that's awesome, and I love it. All right. Thank you so much, Kelf. I'll talk to you soon. See you tonight, if not before. Have a good one, good sir. All right. Now, we have a couple really awesome comments in the Discord I want to go over real quick before we wrap up. We're about done, have about 5 more minutes, but I just wanted to go through these a little bit. Hylian Sword said, I'm not able to attend because of work today, but I really love the content you put out, and that's why I follow you so closely. I'm excited to see the future of the 25-part series you've started. Thank you so much, Hylian. As a new GM, I often feel like I need to be a sponge and soak up everything, but your series so far has done a great job of just laying things out neatly. Just keep up the good work. Thank you so much for that. Sometimes I think that lecture series I'm doing verges on being a little boring. I've had some comments kind of saying that, so we'll see what happens. We're always trying to make it more fun. John Haney had a good thing to say about this topic. I feel like D&D YouTube needs to get back to celebrating the core values of the hobby: questing, creativity, and community. Far too many dungeon tubers are focused on corporate drama to drive up their views, pushing niche products or promoting paid Patreons rather than celebrating the game and others who enjoy it. I understand that a living has to be made, but there must be a balance. Putting things behind paywalls is a feel bad for those of us who can't afford it. I'm willing to buy an affordable book that will enhance my game every now and again, but locking me out of a Discord or creators premium content because I'd rather feed my kids than have a monthly hobby fee only drives me away. Offering a quality product is fine, but putting a golden gate around your hobby community is toxic, especially if that hobby is and always has been about including everyone as having a story to tell. TLDR, focus on the people, not the products. And then he says, to be clear, I believe GM philosophy is a good example of such a positive community. I hope it remains that way for a very long time. Okay, so John Haney had some actually very strong thoughts about this, very good thoughts. What do you guys think about John Haney's thoughts? I actually tend to agree with him to a pretty extreme point. D. Kupark said, I really think there should be a create with me video where you can start off in the video, then ask a question at the end relating to what comes next. Say the most liked comment will be the one you go with for the next step, or you could say you'll pick the one you like most, but up to you. So in other words, like a create with me series of videos. That's what D. Kupark would like to see. That's actually a really cool idea. Dirty Socks had a good comment here about this. What I really enjoy are ideas and concepts that could be incorporated into my own game setting. That is a very broad spectrum, but anything that creates a more rich environment to my players and myself is greatly appreciated. For some slingshot ideas, I would love to see tavern bar brawl combat, a siege battle adventure, and how to set it up. personal quest lines and how to make the most of them. How do you incorporate your players' favorite topics into your campaign or storyline? Non-magical rewards and how to incorporate them into your campaign story. Feats versus abilities, and then mimics. How far does it go? How far does it go? Is there a limit to what mimics will do? Mimics gotta eat too. Mimics gotta eat. I love mimics so much. All right. Now, Stacy had a comment in the Discord, and this was in response to John Haney's comment. And I am going to say this is a slightly like John's take was a little spicy, and I think Stacy replied with a spicy comment. I like this. Here's what Stacy said. There's an unexpected stance you've got there. You are not entitled to all of someone's creativity. Having a paid way to get further creations or content after offering nearly all of it for free is part of the balance. I'm not sure who you are watching, but many creators are out and out celebrating their hobby and are thankful for all that, enjoy it alongside them, and view or participate in the content. They often seem really balanced in offering free content, making strong communities, and having those necessary things that create the income they need. Paid access to their Discord is just one way for a creator to focus on the people in their community, not having to allow for the entire populace of a hobby, which could feel really overwhelming. What you seem to be wanting seems to be focusing on the products and services and your access to them, rather than allowing for the actual people who create those products to cultivate an income that best suits them and their time. Everyone is already included in the free content, which is the vast majority of what is available. Further content and engagement is part of the service creators are offering, but at a price so they can pay their bills and feed their families. Some creators don't offer products or very limited products. They don't have to give their more focused time away for free. They are the people you are referring to, not just the service or products they offer. A reason many can offer the free content is because of the paid options. There is a balance. They do focus on the people in the community as a whole, and they can charge money for giving further time to that community. You are aware that nearly always once you pay one time, you have access to a Discord permanently, right? I've not come across any creator that removes access once you've paid, usually like $1 to $5 through Patreon just once. And then John Haney actually had a response to this. Unpaid access to everyone's creativity. Did I ask for that? We're talking about the direction D&D YouTube should take. Not everyone posting their books for free. I even stated that I'm willing to pay for books. What I'm asking for is a solid supportive community for GMs that's not behind a paywall. Supporting that with books or other resources is part of that, and I'm 100% okay with that. Each content creator is free to do what they want to earn their living. GMP asked what direction I would like D&D YouTube to take, and I answered. I threw in an appreciation for the GMP offering a Discord community for free. By the way, if you want to join our Discord, link is in the description. You should also join my email list. I give away an ebook that lets you random roll plot arcs on the fly. You should download that and join my email list too. Stay on top of current news and events. Anyway, John Haney continued by saying, please don't take my desire for a community and turn me into an entitled beggar. I never said anything of the kind. So this is some good conversation going on in here. See, this is the kind of conversations I'm here for. I want to hear people talk about this stuff. And this is what I want to hear. I want to hear what people think about this. Again, the whole point of this is, what do you want to see? What do you want to see come up in the D&D YouTube space? What do you want to see creators making? Now, Smink Singsura had an interesting comment in the chat, and I want to read this because this is going in a direction that I like. This is kind of where my thought process is going. I would love to see a Madden-style commentary and review of DM performances, maybe even WWF-style commentary. There's a lot of content for planning and design, but I don't see a lot of execution talk. So, okay, I don't know how many of you watched the, I think it's on Netflix, McMahon, about Vince McMahon and the founding of the WWF or the WWE, I guess, as it's called now. I think is what it's called now. But that was such an interesting show. And Vince McMahon, I think one thing he understood was that people love drama. And sometimes it can seem a little silly. Like if you see an out of context clip from wrestling where the wrestlers are feuding, there's a little bit maybe of oh, that's such a silly thing, blah, blah, blah. But when you watch it in context, that drama adds so much fun to what it is. Rather than just watching big dudes pummel each other or big ladies pummel each other, It's so much fun to have all the interwoven drama and the backstory. And then the pummeling takes on a whole new dimension. And there's a part of me that kind of thinks that that drama is missing from a lot of D&D content. So when you have live play, that's in there. There is some drama going on, but the how-to instructional content obviously isn't very dramatic. And so I don't know how to connect those two. I would love to insert a bit of drama into my how-to content to add that, like to have an underlying theme going. I flirted around with this idea. Let me know what you think of this. You might think this is zany and ridiculous, but let me know what you think about this. I've often thought of the idea of like at the maybe the beginning of each of my how-to videos, having a short little story of sorts that like goes through all the videos. Like maybe I'm acting out some kind of story or narrative, or maybe like whatever. Almost like maybe it's just me in my office working, and then like I see the door opening and it's like a little bit of a mystery, and I like look to see, but then you have to wait for the next video to see the next scene, and it's like one scene at a time. So it's kind of like weaving some mystery and drama between videos, but that would be like kind of difficult to pull off from a production sense, but like something like that. Like I just find myself thinking that that is what I would love to see. I'd love to see more drama that really grips me in, like story behind the content. That would make me, I think, so much more interested in watching the content. And this is part of what I've seen with, so this series of videos that people have been publishing about how like YouTube is destroying D&D, like YouTube, like the algorithm is destroying it. D&D YouTube is dying. This has been some of the most fun content. And I'm not trying to like capitalize on people's bad day. Like I realize that there are YouTubers who publish videos because they're legitimately frustrated. It's actually legitimately hurting their income. Like I don't like any of that. But there is an entertainment value to those conversations for me that really grips me and makes me really pay attention. And it's actually high key interesting to me. And it's not because I want them to do badly. Here's what I wish. I wish I was watching that level of drama on their channels and that their channels were thriving and doing amazing. And the reason I was there was because of the drama. Like that's what I feel like I want to see when I'm watching D&D YouTube. There's a lot of really good comments in here. Avery says, I'm drawn to competent and dedicated role players for actual plays. I love Pointy Hat also for the analysis of the game and free items. Let's see here. There was some talk in here. Stacy, Dungeons of 20s, Avery were having a conversation in the chat about how it would be nice to have more content for players. I kind of agree. My whole platform is based on helping game masters. Like game masters are the ones that I identify with. But for players, it does seem that there's an underrepresentation of like player focused combat, like or player focused content, like how to be a great player. It does seem like that's kind of underrepresented. Let's see what other comments we got going on in here. Mick D64 says, I'm amazed on how much content you're able to create and the amount of discussions on the Discord channels. Keep up the good work. Oh, thank you so much for that, Mick D64. Kelf says, I agree with John. I understand that people need to make a living, but I personally hate when paywalls are put around content. Avery says, I agree with Stacy on this one. So we had even some awesome conversation going on in the chat about John's conversation and Stacy's in the Discord. These are the conversations I like to see. I like to see this. Let's see what else we got here. Iskandar the Great says, I don't entirely agree with John. There are many Discords that are free. If you want the community, go there. If you want the time of semi-famous people who have 10,000 plus followers, get in line and buy a ticket. Smink says, can we do a Mad Lib for content used for a D&D session? A Mad Lib. I don't know what that is. It sounds fun, but I don't know what it is. Stacy says, some creators only create content and don't have products to buy or very little to buy. Joining Patreon allows for creation of all the free content. Mr. Vincent says, help players become GMs. I think so. I think that I wish more players did try to become GMs. I think being a GM is just the funnest thing. I'm preparing for this session tonight, and it is so much fun. I'm having so much fun. I just am remembering how much I love preparing for a new campaign. Kelf says, so when are you going to start the PC philosopher spinoff? I don't know if that's for me. I don't know. I'm so committed to the Game Master thing right now. I think that would be too much. It would almost need to be its own channel. D. Coopark says start a second channel called the PC Philosopher. That would be what I would do if I was going to do it. Mr. Cheese says didn't like my suggestion. Mr. Cheese proof. Did I see it? I don't know. I don't think I didn't like it. You said or DM for all of us live using polls for our PC in your game. PC skits that teach some rules and understanding of the game would be epic. PC skits that teach some rules and understanding of the game would be epic. And then or DM for all of us live using polls for our PC in your game. I apologize, Mr. Cheese. It's not that I didn't like your suggestion. I just scanned right over it because I was trying to read through all the comments. It seems like running a game and having people vote on it would be like a fun event thing, but I don't know if it would be like a thing I'd want to do like on the regular. It sounds really chaotic. But PC skits that teach some rules and understanding, that would be very interesting, and that could be very useful, actually. That is a very good idea. I just don't know that it's for me. Smink says, Mad Libs is a word game created by Leonard Stern and Roger Price. It consists of one player prompting others for a list of words to substitute for blanks in a story before reading aloud. Oh, Mad Libs. Interesting. I've never heard of that before. Very interesting. All right. So here is the news. Tonight, 7 p.m., The Barren Lands streaming live on YouTube. If the tech works right, if I do it right, if I click the right buttons, it'll stream on YouTube. If not, big sad. But tonight at 7 p.m., commencing Barren Lands. It's going to be awesome. Make sure you tune in for that. You'll also be able to watch it back, of course, but it's going to be really cool. I'm hoping that it's going to be full of spiciness, full of danger, full of intrigue and drama, a lot of mystery. I'm hoping that everyone's going to enjoy it. Listen, and I just want to say real quick, I really appreciate everyone who tunes in to these lives. Those of you who have tuned in, who are watching, I really appreciate all of you. This is a huge positive part of my day that I really look forward to and enjoy. And those of you who hang out with me, who call in, who share your ideas in the Discord, who share your ideas in the chat, I really appreciate all of you. So thank you so much for that. If you want to stay even more in the know and do me a big favor, click on the link in the description to either join my Discord or to sign up for my email list and download my Ultimate Plot Randomizer. For D100 tables, lets you random roll plot arcs on the fly. I guarantee you I'm probably going to be using it in the Barren Lands because I use it all the time. Pretty much every time I roll dice, I pull out my Ultimate Plot Randomizer. I believe very much in the power of random roll tables to inspire creativity. I love it. So do those things for me if you like me and you'd love to help support the channel, because that will help to keep us connected. So I can tell you about the awesome stuff coming down the pipe. Awesome stuff. Lots of awesome stuff coming down the pipe. Stacy says, all good vibes for good tech and streaming nicely for the kickoff of Barren Lands. Heck yeah. D. Coopark says, could you put it in Discord so I can listen tomorrow at work, please? Oh, you mean pin the Barren Lands in the Discord? It will absolutely be in the Discord, high key, and you will totally be able to listen. I'm super, super happy that that you would like to do that. And it's going to be awesome. All right. With that being said, that's going to be it for this one. Thank you all for tuning in for another episode of Coffee Break Live. I really appreciate you all. Roll some D100s for me, down some caffeine for me, and I will see you all tonight. Have a good one. I will talk to you soon.